I hate to say it, but summer is drawing to a close, and that means we only have a few days left to panic over nothing and blame Donald Trump. You see, summer is that lovely time of year when government business comes to a halt and the news slows down, so journalists finally have some time in which they can really dig deep into meaningless incidents in order to scare us and make us hate one another and then blame Trump. Remember the whole Trump is a Russian spy thing? Yeah, neither do I. But if you look back at some of your favorite family snapshots, you may catch a picture of two of your liberal Aunt Cecile watching CNN and muttering, "Oh my God, the Russians hacked our elections." And even though I don't even know what that means, and even though if I took the time to do a little research, I discover that nothing even remotely like that ever happened, I'm in a total panic about it. I'm sure that Donald Trump is in league with Vladimir Putin, whoever he is, and now our country's in thrall to Russia, like Keith Olbermann says, whoever he is. Ah, yes, panicking over Russia. Those were some days of summer fun, weren't they? There were demands that Trump should be impeached for some reason, and serious-looking commentators claiming that even though nobody was hacked and none of the votes were affected, we should all be very concerned because something. And during all that panic over absolutely nothing, the Justice Department got conned into appointing a special counsel who is sure to get to the bottom of who didn't hack anything and who exactly is responsible for the fact that the vote was accurate. Good times, my friend, good times. It's too bad autumn's on the way, and there'll be real news taking place, and we'll just be too busy to blame Trump for something that never happened, which he wasn't involved in anyway. But who will ever forget our fond summer memories of Charlottesville, when somehow the media gulled us into panicking over the fact that about 17 of the 323 million people in our country are white supremacist dirtbags who lure you in with tiki torches and then won't even serve you a poo-poo platter. I can't even remember how they got us to think that Nazis and fascist leftists punching each other and killing people was somehow Donald Trump's fault, but it sure was a swell old time, wasn't it? I hate to think that come September, we'll have to leave this sort of nonsensical fun behind and get back down to the business of reading and thinking about things that actually affect our lives as a nation. But you know, even though these lazy, hazy, crazy, panicking, crazy, stupid, empty, meaningless, crazy, lazy days of summer will be over, you can be sure that there'll still be stupid stuff to send us into a frenzy of hating one another and blaming Trump. All you'll have to do is turn on CNN or read the New York Times, and it'll be just like summer never ended. Trigger warning, I'm Andrew Klavan, and this is The Andrew Klavan Show.
I feel hunky-dunky, life is tickety-boo. Birds are winging, also singing hunky-dunky-doo. Ship-shape, tipsy-topsy, the world is zippity-zing. It's a wonderful day, hurrah, hooray! It makes me want to sing. Oh, hurrah, hooray! Oh, hooray, hurrah!
Well, that was a Klavanless weekend for the ages. It was apocalyptic. I was like, you know that things are bad when Trump's pardon of Joe Arpaio was like the second news story. I mean, this thing in Texas, we are thinking about you guys in Houston, the flooding, it really is, it's terrible, terrible stuff. And we're thinking about you and praying for you. And Michael Knowles will be here to join us. Will join us to talk about Berkeley and that anti-fa violence, the Antifa. Now we're supposed to call them Antifa. It's a little classier when you're being a fascist, beating people up with a stick. It's a little more, it's nicer to be called Antifa. What is it? It's Antifa instead of Antifa, because they're not Antifa, they're fa. So I guess Antifa is better. So Knowles will come on and talk about that. Everything is moving very quickly, which is why when you have to stop everything you're doing and go to the post office, it feels like you're going back into the past. I mean, everything moves so fast now that, like, if you have to actually mail something, it's like, Ma, hook up the horses to the wagon. We're going to go down to the post office and stand online, and maybe they'll give us some stamps, and maybe it'll even be open. You don't have to do that anymore. Just go on stamps.com. It's the 21st century answer to what you do when you want to mail something. Just put it in your computer. It prints it out. It's so easy, so convenient. You can buy and print official U.S. postage for any letter, any package, any class of mail using your own computer and printer. Stamps.com brings all the services of the U.S. Postal Service right to your fingertips, and it's easy. They'll send you a digital scale. It automatically calculates exact postage. Stamps.com will even help you decide the best class of mail based on your needs. Right now, you can enjoy the Stamps.com service with a special offer that includes a 4-week trial plus postage and a digital scale without long-term commitments. Go to Stamps.com, click on the microphone at the top of the home page, and type in Klavan. That's Stamps.com, and enter Klavan. You'll never have to hook up the horses to the wagon and go to the post office again. All right. You know, there's never too much we can say about a hurricane. I mean, the only thing is, of course, there's a lot of toxic masculinity out there of guys rescuing people, and it's always the only thing to remember is you do see these pictures, and I don't want to sentimentalize it, but it is true. These are people of all colors who are in trouble, and they're people of all colors who are going out there to help them. That's the real story that's actually happening day after day after day in America. That is what America is. Fox News said it takes, what did he say? It takes a catastrophe to bring us back together. No, it doesn't. It just takes turning off the news. You know, it just takes turning off CNN, and suddenly you realize we don't hate each other. That is not what's going on. You know, which is a good reason I want to start with this video that was taken of James Mattis, the Secretary of Defense. He was touring some overseas bases, talking to the military, you know, getting out there and greeting the guys. And I don't know exactly where this was. He was in Jordan, he was in Turkey, he was in a bunch of places. But I've been to, you know, places like this. I was in Afghanistan and places like this. And the guys are out there, and they are people, same thing. All different colors, all different places, different politics. You know, people always think that the military is conservative. Maybe it's more conservative than the population. I don't know. But the people I met, you know, Democrats, Republicans, they're all out there serving the country. And he gave them a talk about this, about the difference between the collaboration and togetherness that you find in the military where you're working for a mission, and our country, which unemployment is non-existent. Racism, let's face it, institutional racism is gone. Racism, in fact, is nothing like what it used to be ever. It's nothing close. You know, we're rich. We're basically at peace, even though we're fighting these small kind of imperial-type wars, empire-type wars in the distance. You know, the country is actually okay, and it's only the people who are fighting with each other. And he talks about this a little bit. This is James Mattis talking to the troops.
Believe me, I know you're far from home, every one of you. I know you could all be going to college, you young people, or you could be back on the block. Just grateful. The only way this great big experiment you and I call America is going to survive is we got tough hombres like you. And you remember, some of you too young, Corporal Walton, but on 9/11, we were acting up against an enemy that thought if he hurt us, he could scare us. But we don't frickin' scare. That's the bottom line. And we'll go out here, we'll fight alongside our friends and allies, and we're going to keep right on fighting until they're sick of us and leave us alone. And you're buying time. You're a great example for our country right now. It's got some problems. You know it and I know it. It's got problems that we don't have in the military. And you just hold the line, my fine young soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines. You just hold the line until our country gets back to understanding and respecting each other and showing it, being friendly to one another, you know, that Americans owe to one another. We're so doggone lucky to be Americans. And we got two powers, the power of inspiration, and we'll get the power of inspiration back. We got the power of intimidation, and that's you. If someone wants to screw with our families and our country or our allies, okay? So thanks so much for being out here. You completely took me by surprise. I'm off in La La Land yesterday. So that's good. Keep the old guys like me guessing. The only reason I came back I flunked retirement, okay?
So very moving, talking about the fact that they are holding the line while we get things together. They're keeping the enemy at bay while we learn not to be enemies among ourselves, and we're divided at every level. I mean, obviously the left and right are divided. We're going to bring on Michael Knowles from the Michael Knowles Show to talk about that, what's happening in Berkeley, and the ferocious attempt of the far left to shut down the right. Knowles, by the way, will come on after we leave Facebook and YouTube, so you will have to come over to thedailywire.com and listen to it. If you want to watch the whole thing, you subscribe. It's a lousy $10 a month. I mean, come on. It's $10 a month. You can watch the whole show. And if you subscribe for the year, it's $100 for the whole year, and you get the Leftist Tears tumbler, my friend. Come on. It keeps your Leftist Tears hot. It keeps them cold. It keeps them stocked because it refills automatically every time Donald Trump makes a speech. So you'll want to do that. But, you know, we're divided at every level. So there's the right and the left. But then, you know, there's Trump and basically the Republican Party are at odds. So the Republican Party is divided between the Trump supporters and the people who are not so sure of Trump, and even some who don't like it. And, you know, there's divisions in the administration where the Bannon people are being forced out, and we don't really know, like, are the people who are remaining, are they Democrats like Ivanka? You know, is that going to be what the Trump administration morphs into? So we saw all of this with, you know, the pardon of Joe Arpaio went on, and like I said, this would be the big story. I mean, this would be the screaming, yelling story. And Arpaio, obviously the sheriff who was in Arizona, who was very, very tough on illegal immigrants and was stopping people if they looked like they were illegal immigrants, and he was accused of racial profiling. He was accused of brutality in his prisons. He had so many people. He actually had a tent prison at one point. He dressed people up in pink. Wasn't that one of the things he did? And well, here, let's just listen. He was on Hannity moments after his accusation. The thing was, he was a big, big Trump ally. He supported Trump all the way, still supports him, and supported Trump when he was doing that nonsense about the birtherism, you know, where was Obama born, which I saw differently than everybody else. Everybody leapt to call that racist, which I never thought it was racist. I thought that was two trolls fighting. It was the Obama troll. Obama was a great, great troll. He drove the right crazy. I mean, you have to give credit where credit is due. Obama drove us crazy, and he knew he was doing it, and he knew how to do it, and he knew how to set us off. And Trump just called his bluff. He went after him and said, basically, you've been trolling us by not showing us this thing. I don't believe you. I don't believe you're actually born an American. Everybody said racist, 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 which was the knee-jerk reaction to the left to any criticism of Barack Obama. But I just thought it was troll versus troll. Remember, Mad Magazine used to have spy versus spy. This was troll versus troll. And Arpaio supported Trump in that craziness. And here he is celebrating his pardon.
It's great. I love that president. He supports law enforcement, and I'm very humble. If you recall, 2 years ago, I supported him, and I said publicly recently, pardon or no pardon, I will be with him to the end. And I'm going to have a news conference early next week and get to the bottom of this and show the abuse of the judicial system in politics. I'm not going down without trying to defend myself to all those people that don't like what I've done.
So the hurricane forced a lot of this to second place, but of course everybody who has any kind of political ambitions for the presidency next time out immediately rushed forward to either condemn or praise it. Joe Biden, who still is living under the delusion that someday somebody might be foolish enough to vote for him for president, besides somebody who's related to him, wrote this big article of how we're fighting over the soul of the country, and this just shows what a racist Trump is. Kasich, the Ohio governor, John Kasich, he is always out there thinking he is another guy. I mean, he just stayed in those primaries forever because he just can't get over the daydream that somebody's going to elect this guy president. And he went out and attacked Trump for this pardon.
I actually have the power of pardoning in my state. We do clemencies over time, but we make sure that people did proper restitution. I wouldn't have done it this way. It is absolutely should be out of bounds for somebody to use that as some sort of a political wedge. It appears as though that's what it was. It's not the way I operate here with the power to be able to give people a second chance. But the president has that power. I don't agree with what he did. It's not the way I operate. I can't be any more loud in what I have to say than to tell you what I do, because my actions reflect the way I feel.
So I'm going to tell you what I think about this in a minute, but I want to let all the different sides speak. John McCain, Jeff Flake, the senators from Arizona, they went after Trump too. McCain said the president has the authority to make this pardon, but doing so at this time undermines his claim for the respect of rule of law, as Mr. Arpaio has shown no remorse for his actions. Just to be clear, he was ordered by a federal court to stop basically targeting Hispanic people. I think that would be the best way to say it. He told them he was doing it, but he didn't. He continued his policies, and they held him in contempt of court. So Steve King, a big, strong border advocate, he went out and he attacked Flake and McCain. He struck back. Congressman Steve King struck back against Flake and McCain.
Well, I would think I probably spent more time with Joe Arpaio than either one of them. They have been essentially for open borders. They don't want to see our immigration laws enforced. They don't want to build a wall. They don't want to secure the border. They want amnesty. They've been for amnesty for all of their political lives. And so you often see people take a position that's consistent with what they hope gets accomplished with regard to the policies that they favor, rather than an objective look. And I just watched this political persecution take place under the Obama administration. And when they pulled the 287G program from Maricopa County, at that time it was conclusive to me that it was an effort to prohibit him from enforcing the law, and they wanted to punish Joe Arpaio because they wanted to open borders.
So what King says there is basically true, that people, ascribe qualities to these guys according to their belief system. So if you believe in strong borders, then you were going to think that Arpaio is a good guy. If you believe in open borders like Flake and McCain, you're going to believe he's a bad guy. Here's what I think. I believe in strong borders very much. I still think he's a bad guy. I think he beat people up. I think people were mistreated in his prisons. I think once a guy is in prison, he is under control, and you have no right to make his life hell, even if you hate him, dressing people up, humiliating them. It's like that's. I don't want to say it's un-American. I think it's inhuman. I think it's wrong. And I don't think that we have to celebrate that, even as we fight for strong borders. The problem is, however, the policy of the federal government toward our borders under Obama and even under George W. Bush was insane. It was insane. You cannot have open borders, or if you're going to have open borders, make it a law. We have no borders. Our borders are open. Anyone can come in. You cannot say that it's illegal to come across our borders, but if you do it, welcome. That's nuts. And the thing about this is this has never been a big issue for me. I was never the guy who stood up and cheered when Trump said I'm going to build a wall. It's not the point. It's a rule of law question. Once the rule of law collapses, once the federal government says, we're not obeying the law, we're not going to enforce the law, then a guy like Arpaio naturally becomes a hero. And you think back, remember Joe the plumber. Candidate Obama is out there, and Joe the plumber says, what's with this, spread the wealth, socialism stuff, basically. And Obama embarrassed himself by revealing that, in fact, he was a socialist. He was a proto-socialist. And the press went after the guy who asked the question. It was insane. It was horrible. It was just an abuse of the power of the press. It's why the press has no credibility. It's why we hate them. It's why watching Trump beat them up in Phoenix the other day was such a pleasure. It's because they stink that badly. That doesn't make Joe the plumber a wise man. It doesn't make him worth hiring to do commentary. He was just a guy. He had the right to say what he said. I'm not saying he's a bad guy or a good guy. I'm just saying to make him into some kind of icon because the press mistreated him is what we're always doing. We're always reacting. We're always saying, if they hate him, he must be great. Or if he agrees with us, he must be great. It's entirely possible for people to agree with us, for us to say, it's nuts not to enforce the border. That's what a country is. A country is its border. And for the guy who enforces them to still be a bad guy. I'm going to break. I'm going to talk about Sebastian Gorka, who was the other big story because he left the administration. These things are just getting blown away by the hurricane. But we'll talk about him in a minute. But first, I have to say goodbye to Facebook and YouTube. And let me say before you go, To those of you who do subscribe to the Daily Wire, we so appreciate it. You know, it really does make this possible. That everything we do, you know, we don't just come in here. Sometimes, like for instance, every now and again, we pay Austin to do this. Not often, but no. I mean, come on. I mean, look what you're doing. You know, no, and as well, it should not be. I mean, look what you're doing. But you know, we actually, this is a major operation. It is a capitalist operation. We do it for profit for the people who invest to get their money back, and we appreciate the fact that when you subscribe, you help that along. I mean, it's part of just, you know, we give you benefits. We give you, if you subscribe for a year, the Leftist Tears tumbler. So we're not kidding around when I say we give you benefits. I mean, this is like the closest thing we can give you to giving you the sword and the stone, and we give you the Leftist Tears tumbler. So please subscribe if you're not doing it. If you want to hear the rest of the show, come on over to thedailywire.com.